right now on 5 on your side at 10.
Tonight, if the sheriff's office calls, you should probably hang up. The warning about a scamming sergeant.
Showers continue to drift across the St. Louis area right now. When these showers move out, and who sees rain on Saturday?
But first tonight, a local politician threatened for seeking a crime solution.
This will be taken seriously.
The curfew plan meant to curb violence. Good evening, I'm Ann Allred. Mike Bush has the night off. Tonight, police are investigating a threat sent to St. Louis Alderman Brandon Bosley. It comes one day before he introduces a teenage curfew bill. Our Robert Townsend is live outside City Hall with the story you will only see tonight on 5 on Your Side. Robert?
And Alderman Bosley tells me the threat has not scared him. Instead, he says it has pushed him to spread the word to his constituents, the public, and police. The day before he presents a teen curfew proposal to his fellow St. Louis Board of Aldermen.
So this person just called the general board.
3rd Ward Alderman Brandon Bosley says shortly before 11 Thursday morning, someone called City Hall and made a disturbing threat directed at his ward.
It was a man's voice. He was that bold.
A city worker took the call. She told Alderman Bosley the man said, quote, that he will burn down places in your ward if you put a curfew out, and then hung up.
To express, you're going to burn our properties down. People that you don't even know. You're a menace to society.
Alderman Bosley immediately reported the call to police.
And I hope that we're able to catch this individual and at some point in time in the very, very near future have a conversation with him, because that's terroristic in nature.
Despite the threat, the furious alderman still plans to introduce a teen curfew bill in hopes of curbing gun violence, particularly among teens. His citywide proposal would also include creating a curfew center where there's a gym, a kitchen, and other resources for kids.
Kids need to have somewhere to go as soon as that curfew is imposed. So the goal is for it to be in a place where we already have large enough space for us to create what it is they want to do.
5 on Your Side rode around the 3rd Ward and chatted with people about the teen curfew bill and the threat that targets their neighborhoods.
That's wrong. We need this law on it to stop the violence.
The threat is just not necessary.
And Bosley will introduce his bill right here at City Hall tomorrow morning at 10. We're live downtown. I'm Robert Townsend. 5 on Your Side.
Tonight, a 15-year-old boy is being treated in the hospital after being shot in the chest. The shooting happened in North St. Louis at the intersection of Webster Avenue and Brantner Place. No word on a suspect or a motive. Just a few hours ago, the St. Louis African American Aldermanic Caucus released its action plan to stop the violence. They're calling gun violence a public health crisis in the city of St. Louis. They want the city to establish an Office of Firearm Violence Prevention. The group is also calling for a meeting of federal, state, and local leaders, supporting good law enforcement with solid resources, and supporting neighborhood organizations. The group also supports sending a resolution to the governor asking for an exemption to Missouri's open carry law for St. Louis. About 2 hours ago, St. Louis firefighters were on the scene of this abandoned church fire. This is the site of the former St. Augustine Catholic Church in North City. No word on a cause or the extent of the damage. There is a nonprofit group that's been working to try and save this building. Tonight, a blanket of fog covering the St. Louis region. Some raindrops out there too. That's a couple birds. You could still see some showers maybe when you head out the door tomorrow morning. Talking about that morning commute. Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell here with the weather first forecast. All those birds with the murky fog. It's creepy.
Just kind of an eerie thing.
Yeah.
And you go out there and they're squawking, those crows are. So we're dealing with that in St. Louis tonight, along with the clouds and a bit of fog. Now, the fog is not all that dense for most of us. In fact, at the airport right now, the visibility close to the ground, not bad at all. You know, not going to slow you down traveling, but the base of the clouds pretty low, still not causing any problems coming in or out of Lambert. We do have showers across the area. These rain showers haven't been overly heavy, but enough certainly to keep the roads wet tonight. They are lifting northeast, and there's still some more back to our west. So through the overnight hours, we'll continue to see these showers drifting through the area. And from time to time, we see raindrops on our cameras around St. Louis. So this unsettled pattern is going to continue. Now, most of the rain is going to exit just before sunrise tomorrow. And most of tomorrow's dry. Some of us even see some sunshine, especially south and southwest of St. Louis. But Saturday, some of us are going to get wet. We'll show you the areas most likely to see that rain. And we're talking and tracking about another storm that's headed our way for next week. And that one's a bigger one. Ann?
Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmitt is asking a judge for an emergency hearing tomorrow over accusations St. Louis Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner withheld evidence in the Lamar Johnson case. Johnson is serving a life sentence for a 1994 murder. Gardner's office filed a motion to vacate Johnson's conviction, partly based on new evidence. Schmitt has now filed a motion for sanctions against Gardner's office, claiming that her office withheld a lab report showing Johnson's coat was positive for gunshot residue, which would likely prove Johnson is guilty. Johnson is due in court on Monday. The AG wants more time to prepare. Tonight, Gardner's office releasing this statement saying, quote, "It is unconscionable that the Attorney General would twist the facts to suit his personal agenda. This is not the first time this office has used the justice system to play politics. The Office of the Circuit Attorney at no point intentionally concealed evidence." Tonight, a scam alert from the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. Someone is impersonating deputies and calling people demanding money. Our Laura Barczewski is here with the warning. Laura.
And the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office says the most important thing to remember is a law enforcement agency is not going to call you and demand money for any reason.
We don't make phone calls. We make house calls.
Grant Bissell with the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office says for the second time in the last 3 months, phone scammers have impersonated sheriff's deputies.
In October, we had somebody posing as Deputy Tyler Norick, who is actually one of our deputies, but was not making phone calls to people in regards to this. And then just this past week, we had somebody calling around posing as a Sergeant Dan Harris from our Civil Process Division. We don't have a Sergeant Dan Harris anywhere in this department at all.
Bissell says the scammers use a phone number with a 636 area code and try to get people to turn over personal information or give them money in the form of Venmo or gift cards.
They call saying that you missed a court date, and then they might go so far as to say now there's a warrant out for your arrest, or you need to pay a fine, or you're going to be arrested, something like that.
What should you do if this call does come into your phone and maybe this kind of happens to you?
Be suspicious. First and foremost, be suspicious. Know that, again, police departments don't call you to let you know that you have an outstanding warrant or you have fines that you owe, things like that. If for some reason you're still thinking it might be legit, go ahead and call directly to that agency. Hang up the phone with the person that called you.
But he says, unfortunately, it's tough to hold people accountable for doing this.
And even if you do figure out where it's coming from, if it's outside of our jurisdiction or our local area with friendly police departments that we work with all the time, if it's outside of the state, if it's outside of the country, it gets to a point where your local law enforcement really can't do much.
The Jefferson County Sheriff's Office says this has been happening in other counties in our area as well. And if you receive one of these calls, it's best to call your local law enforcement's non-emergency line and make an informational report so they can warn other people.
Laura, thank you. Recreational marijuana is now legal in Missouri. You cannot buy it yet, but adults 21 and up can now possess up to 3 ounces. The new law that went into effect today expunges nonviolent marijuana charges from records. Dispensaries can also begin applying for a state license to sell recreationally. The actual sales will begin in early February. Until then, you still need a medical marijuana card to purchase. Tonight, St. Louis Mayor Tashara Jones is setting up a reparations commission. She'll appoint 9 members to look at how to restore economic injustices brought on by slavery, segregation, and racism. It's unclear if money will be given out. Those interested in serving on this commission have 30 days to apply on the city's website. This comes as St. Louis leaders are considering using federal COVID relief funds to provide monthly payments to people in need. Some 400 families could get a $500 check in the mail every month for up to 18 months. Brent Solomon just caught up with the alderwoman who's pitching the plan. Brent.
Hey there, Ann. I just finished my conversation with Alderwoman Shamim Clark Hubbard. She's excited her idea made it out of a city committee today. There are now several steps ahead before the guaranteed income plan is a done deal. 46-year-old Ramon James is on a path to be his best. The St. Louis native is a father of 5. His youngest are 15 and 3 years old.
To me, working is tremendously important. It's the most important thing outside of breathing right now.
But he isn't right now. His last job at a local auto plant was temporary.
By me being a temp, I was the first to, have to leave because I was a temp and the company was just drying up its hours.
He spends his time coming here, the Fathers and Family Support Center, learning to be a better man.
I know I want to better myself. I want to take on this challenge, for me and my kids.
The class meets daily, connecting fathers with resources and a career advisor. These are the type of people St. Louis leaders are targeting for a plan to provide $500 monthly checks to. It will come from $5 million in federal COVID relief funds. James feels the need.
With childcare, that helps with extra money on the electric bill, the gas bill. That helps to stay in good standings at this time with your landlord when we're having so many evictions.
Alderwoman Shamim Clark Hubbard wants that money to go to some 400 working families, including those who have children in St. Louis public schools.
An impact on their budgetary needs, their basic, sometimes critical needs in their households monthly, to now be able to depend and budget in this extra money every month. As a parent myself, I know the difference it would make.
It does, and I'll look in the camera. It helps people like myself. It helps my family, and it helps those that I know that are struggling at this time.
And who are working to be better.
To better themselves.
I get it.
Opponents pointed out the city has already provided one-time $500 cash relief checks to people in need. They also say many who may qualify for this plan may already receive government assistance. Clark Hubbard says that doesn't take away the need. The proposal now heads to the Board of Aldermen for 2 rounds of debate and vetting. The mayor has already said she's on board.
It's been 1 year since a deadly tornado wiped out an Amazon warehouse in the Metro East.
About half of the building is destroyed.
There were promises for change, but have those promises been broken?
Unfortunately, no. Enough hasn't changed.
Tonight, the I-Team looks into what's being done to keep workers safe.
This pesky, unsettled pattern continues into the first part of the weekend, and we're already looking into next week for a system that's much larger as it will impact Mid-America.
This is a live picture from Kelly Field in San Antonio, Texas, where anytime now, WNBA star Brittany Griner will arrive after spending 10 months in a Russian prison. Griner will then be taken to an Army Medical Center for evaluation. Her homecoming was made possible through a prisoner exchange negotiated by the Biden administration. But former Marine Paul Whelan was not part of the deal. Russian arms dealer Victor Bout arrived home in Russia this evening. He is the so-called Merchant of Death and spent the last 10 years in a federal prison in Marion, Illinois. Saturday marks 1 year since the deadly tornado that hit an Amazon warehouse in Edwardsville, Illinois. 6 people were killed. Tonight, senior investigative reporter Paula Vassan asked lawmakers directly what's changed since then, and is enough being done to keep workers safe?
The deadly tornado last December that struck an Amazon warehouse led to calls to action.
About half of the building is destroyed.
And promises for change. But 1 year later,
Unfortunately, no.
Illinois lawmaker Katie Stewart says
Enough hasn't changed. We're on the process and we're on the way to making those necessary changes, but we haven't gotten there yet.
She says warehouses in Illinois and Missouri can still be built without storm shelters, even when they lack basements. It's because local codes haven't changed to require them.
If you're not satisfied with the international building codes, are you ready to
I am
go above
ready,
and beyond?
I'm ready to go above and beyond to put forth legislation that would require more. I want to require safer conditions for workers when tornadoes hit, because let's face it, where we live and the changing nature of our climate, we are going to see these storms get worse and happen more often.
Stewart believes progress will come from a bill she sponsored, House Bill 1563. It would create a task force of lawmakers on both sides of the aisle, structural engineers and climate change experts. Getting it off the ground has been slow.
I'm disappointed that the Senate didn't move more quickly.
Missouri Congresswoman Cori Bush is also pushing for action. 2 of the 6 people who died last year were from her district. Over the past year, she's been working with other lawmakers with the House Committee on Oversight and Reform. They've been pushing Amazon to reveal how it prioritizes worker safety.
So much more still needs to be done.
In light of last year's deaths, she spearheaded 2 pieces of legislation that could come up for a vote sometime next year. Her legislation would, in part, prevent workers from being fired for seeking safety during severe weather.
Is this an Amazon issue, or is this something bigger?
This is actually something bigger, which is why we have been working with labor groups and just activists, advocates around the country to see how we can make sure that workers are safe and are being taken care of.
She wants companies like Amazon to raise their standards.
Since the deadly tornado, Amazon has told us they're focusing on emergency drills and manager training. That's happening at its more than 800 facilities in North America. Right now, the Edwardsville warehouse, which the company leases, is being rebuilt without any structural changes. Amazon says its warehouses meet all building code requirements. For the I-Team, Paula Vassan, 5 on your side.
An Amazon spokesperson says they are making themselves available for interviews tomorrow afternoon. 5 on your side will be there. Let's get back to Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell. And you told us there is another significant rain system headed our way for next week you're going to tell us about.
Yeah, this is the one that's going to be in here on Tuesday, and it's going to bring a lot of rain. You think we've been a little damp this week. We're talking 1 to 2 inches of rainfall out of that system, and potentially there's going to be some spots that get severe weather in parts of Mid-America. We'll get into that in a few minutes. Nothing severe right now, although they have had some thunder snow up in northern Iowa this evening where it's cold enough for snow. We're not dealing with that. Temperatures are still in the 40s, still murky, still a little misty out there. And yes, we still have the scattered showers drifting through the area. That's looking down in Arnold. Visibilities haven't become so bad that it's a problem for travel tonight. But you still have wet roads from Granite City to Wood River, then over to Edwardsville, over to Highland, Troy, Illinois. Heading northbound, you're looking at those showers from Jerseyville over to Carrollton and Carlinville, all of that sliding northeastbound, and there are still some more showers back in western and middle parts of Missouri to head our way. Now, the fog hasn't been overly thick for most of us. Yes, the cloud base is pretty low, but the visibilities aren't too bad. Even so, there is a dense fog advisory that includes the Rolla area down into the Ozarks, but even the Rolla Airport right now, the Vichy Rolla Airport, is showing decent visibility. So we think it's pretty isolated that you'd get into the thicker fog, but we still have some raindrops falling around the area. That's going to continue through the overnight hours. We have been sitting at 46 degrees for several hours now. That is the high for the day. 43 was our low, about 1/10 of an inch of rain. Going through the remainder of the night, scattered showers will continue to rotate through the area. The back edge of most of this rain slides east of St. Louis just before the early morning rush hour tomorrow, and perhaps some clearing on the way in the afternoon, especially south of St. Louis. The winds will start out of the south-southwest. They will turn more to the west-northwest, but just a little bit of sunshine will easily push our temperatures back into the 50s. We look at Futurecast. Your weather first Futurecast here going into Saturday morning. We're watching another area of rain coming our way from the southwest. This will stay from St. Louis mainly south as we head into the first part of Saturday. By Saturday afternoon, it's just a chance of scattered showers for most of us. And by the evening, that system will push away from the bi-state region. So the weekend ends up being kind of 50-50. We'll go with partly cloudy skies on Sunday. Saturday, you will have that chance for rain as we work through the midday hours. Very energetic system on Sunday coming into the West Coast. This is going to be the problem maker for next Monday night into Tuesday, perhaps into Wednesday. The jet stream winds are strong to go along with all of this energy. This type of system opens up the moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. You'll have a pretty dynamic weather system happening across the middle part of the country. The best chance for severe thunderstorms should stay to our south, but we are putting thunderstorms in the forecast for Tuesday, and some of them could very well be strong if we can have enough instability around here. So Tuesday is definitely a day to watch. Then after that, colder temperatures heading in for the end of the week into next weekend. Looks like as we head towards the first evening of Hanukkah, temperatures will be on the cold side.
All right, Scott, thank you. And here is Frank with what's coming up in sports.
Well, and the bad news is the Blues are bad. The good news is Mizzou basketball is not, and we are previewing Mizzou and Kansas in a big basketball game coming up. Stay with us.
And once again, 5 on Your Side is teamed up with the Foster and Adoptive Care Coalition for the Little Wishes campaign. With less than 2 weeks to go, we still have more than 1,200 wishes to grant to area foster kids. Please go to kstk.com/littlewishes to please purchase a gift.
So remember that 7-game win streak by the Blues earlier in the season? That's what you call a false sense of hope. Yes, before that, they couldn't beat anybody, and since that, they're 2-7. Granted, 55 games are left, plenty of time, but tonight, the first-place Jets came to town and went to town. The Blues are the worst team in hockey at killing penalties, and you can look it up. Or watch this. Blake Wheeler with a power play goal. It's 3-0 Jets in the second period. I think Craig Berube has had better Thursday nights in his life. End of the second, Vladimir Tarasenko spoon feeds Robert Thomas for the goal. 3-1 after 2 periods. Josh Levo added a goal in the third to cut the lead to 4-2, but the Blues would get no closer. Winnipeg rolls the final 5-2.
Dribble penetration. Vaughn had it. Missouri gets it.
What a moment in that rivalry. Mizzou and Kansas played their first basketball game against each other in 1907. They will play their next game against each other Saturday in Columbia. Kansas holds a commanding 80-game lead. And last year, KU beat the Tigers by 37 points. But hold on, this Mizzou team is 9-0. Now granted, not a great strength of schedule, but they lead the country at scoring at 93 points per game. The joint will be jumping in Columbia, like in the old Norm Stewart days, a legendary coach who Coach Gates knows well.
It was this one day he called me about 5 times. I said, Coach, I want to offer you a job to come back as my assistant coach. Will you accept it? He declined, but he quickly, the first story he told me was his experiences during the Big 8, right? Big 12, and that unbelievable tradition between the two programs.
So outside of the Rams being in last place and losers of 6 in a row, everything is just fine with Stan Kroenke's team. And it gets worse or better depending on where you stand. Do you know on Christmas Day, they will host the Denver Broncos, who are equally as bad. So their fans won't travel to LA. And who in LA would blow $500 on Christmas Day to watch the Rams? This will be an embarrassing day for the league. Nobody will be in that $5 billion stadium. Feel really bad about that too. Of course, Stan Stadium had more opposing fans than Rams fans tonight. You know, the Raiders came and they traveled really well, and they like this. Davante Adams with an unreal one-handed catch early in this one. Wild finish. Baker Mayfield with the team for 2 days throws a touchdown in the waning moments to Van Jefferson, and the Rams somehow win 17-16. Wow, it's a good time to be a baseball player. Brandon Nimmo, a solid player, plays good D and hits 16 homers. Got an 8-year, $162 million deal with the Mets today. And the Padres are spending money like Scott Cano at a weather convention with a Channel 5 visa. Xander Bogaerts agreed to an 11-year deal for $280 million. High school basketball, Pee Wee Leonard, John Burroughs in the Webster Classic to face Brian Turner and St. Mary's, 2 good players in their day. Speaking of good players, the Dragons had Yuri Collins' little brother, Zaire. The sophomore guard had 29 points tonight. Burroughs has a big-time player, too, in Trevor Reed. And the Bombers win this one, the final, 78-74. And that will do it in sports.
Calling out Scotty's spending.
We all know about it. He's a spendthrift.
Frank, thank you. Don't forget your Amazon drivers this holiday season, how you can tip them, and it doesn't cost you a thing. Professional soccer in St. Louis has gone to the dogs, but in a good way. St. Louis City SC founding partner Purina has released a kit or jersey made for dogs. They're available only on the team store at City Park, and it's while supplies last. Very cute. And you can give your Amazon driver a $5 holiday tip for free. Customers can tell Alexa, "Thank my driver." And the first 1 million drivers to receive customer thank yous will get a $5 tip from Amazon. This comes amid a lawsuit where the online retailer is accused of stealing drivers' tips. Jim Beam is offering a hug for the holidays. The bourbon maker is selling red flannel Kentucky Hug pajamas. A removable panel around the neck and shoulders right there. It's supposed to simulate a real-life hug. They're saying a Kentucky hug means that warm feeling you get after a couple sips of bourbon. Limited edition PJs cost $25. That is all of our time for 5 on Your Side at 10. The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon is next. Guests tonight, Steve Martin and Martin Short. Start your day with Today in St. Louis beginning at 4 a.m. and have a great Friday.